Hello, this is Pat Walker at MissionWinners.com, and I am making a video here for Danny. Danny, excuse me, welcome to the team, good buddy. And you had some great questions here. Danny asked a question. By the way, this is for everybody who hears this. I encourage you, ask questions, and by Joe, we'll make videos. Danny's got a question here. He's looking at a chart. I've got it right here in front of us, okay? And his question is this, and this is a good question for all of us. Here's trend line B. You see that yellow here? We're just going to call it the yellow trend line, and here's the white trend line. And he said, volume on point B, and I don't have the volume on it, okay? Doesn't come up on this window, but volume picked up. Is this a viable trend line? And the answer is yes, it is. Why? It's above the various moving averages, okay? It's bouncing off the 20 and the 8-day. I assume that it's doing it on a pickup in volume. Could that be bought? Yes, it could, because it's a longer one. It's several weeks, 2.5 weeks. So yes, there's absolutely no reason to buy that. There's another point that I think is very important. It is not a steep downward sloping trend line. It is a gradual sloping trend line. That is viable. There's no problem with that at all. You can do that. All right? So now let's go to this trend line. Points out, this trend line right here, is this one viable? And the answer is yes, it is. Why? It's a longer trend line. It is not steeply sloping. It's not like this, like a steep line. It's bouncing off various moving averages, okay? And I assume that it did it on a pickup in volume. I assume. I can't see it, but I assume that this was a pickup in volume and this was a pickup in volume. If either of these, this one, this bar right here, or this bar right here, was not a pickup in volume, then I wouldn't do them. The other variable I've got to take into consideration is, and again, I don't know what, this is Komet here, I think it says. It looks like K-I-M. I can't read it. But the point is this. Always factor into your buying tactics and decisions, what's the market doing at the time? Right here, let's do this point right here. If this breaks out, but the market's really weak, I won't do it. If this breaks out and the market's really weak, I won't do it. So we want to first have the market acting okay. Secondly, have the stock coming out of a relatively clean downward sloping trend line or consolidation zone, and it's lifting off, and it's lifting off in volume. That is great. That's what we're looking for. But right here, I'm going to give an assumption that in both instances, the market's acting good. In both instances, it could have been bought. Did it work both times? No, it didn't, which leads to the other point. It went up, formed a little pennant formation, and then it dropped like a rock. I'm going to be very quick to sell. Very quick to sell. Why? Clean and simple entry. This is a pretty clean and simple entry. It's going to give you a clean and simple exit. Let's cut to the chase. It shouldn't do this. It should do this. If it does this, get the heck out fast. Small losses. Bill O'Neill says 5 to 7%. Not me. I'm looking for 1 to 2%. Run it like a tight ship. Question 3. Cups and handles, longer bases. In trading using patterns like the cup and handle or flat bases less risky? Yes, they are. I'm going to give you an investing maxim. The longer the base, assuming it's not, a year base, overall, the longer the base, the better. Also, strive for clean and simple bases. A flat base is not risky, assuming it's at least several weeks long. Look for patterns. Here's the moral of the story for all of us. Folks, Danny, we all, including me, Pat, look for patterns that everybody can see. It increases the odds that they will act on it. Look for relatively tight, constructive patterns. Here is relatively tight and constructive. Here is relatively tight and constructive. Let's suppose you drew a line right here going across here. This is not relatively tight and constructive. Why? Because right here it gaps up and reverses down. That's loose. This is relatively tight and constructive. By the way, note this bar right here. It opened, it fell, look where it closed. Look at this bar here. I think it opened here, it fell. Look where it closed. They supported it. Those are constructive price bars to look at also. An investing maxim for all of us, the longer the base, the cleaner the base, the better. And can you use simple downward sloping trend lines? Yes. Make sure that it's slightly longer than a couple of weeks with a relatively clean and orderly pattern. That is very, very important. We separated them out. I found that in the video, I covered enough. The video is this sounds arrogant, the video is $1 million education every night, going through, looking and listening to what is discussed in the chart patterns. Also, by using my cursor and pointing out price points, I hope it helps train people's eyes and minds on it. So this is the way I'll do it. I look on longer bases. That is what I prefer. Shorter bases, I will post them, but know this, a shorter base is riskier. So make sure it's clean and simple. Clean entry gives clean exit. I hope that answers your questions. If not, Danny, keep asking, buddy. That's why I'm here. I thank you all, and I hope you have a good night.